one of the most popular questions I get often from clients and potential clients when it comes to using retirement money to buy real estate is what can I do as the manager of the LLC or the person involved as the IRA holder in the real estate investment? It's a great question. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of IRS guidance on it. There is a little bit, which we'll touch on. But before we get into some case law, I think it's important to look at the tax code. Because the tax code under Internal Revenue Code, Section 4975, really describes what is allowed or not allowed to be done with retirement money. So when you look at 4975C as in Charlie, it talks about the self-directed prohibited transactions. So to sum them up, it basically says you can't provide any services to your self-directed IRA. You can't generate any fees from the services from your self-directed IRA. You can't personally guarantee an obligation of your IRA. So you can't get a credit card associated with the IRA, or you can't use your IRA as collateral for a personal loan. And then the self-directed IRA rules get into some scenarios of self-dealing and conflict of interest, which is basically using your IRA in any way that directly or indirectly personally benefits you versus, or a disqualified person, or a lineal descendant, a parent, child, spouse, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, versus just benefiting the IRA. So why does the IRS care about this stuff? What are they caring about what you do or not? Well, the bottom line is if you have a pre-tax IRA, eventually you're going to have to pay tax on some of the income that's grown without tax. So basically if you're under 59 and a half, you're going to pay tax on a 10% penalty if you pull the money out. If you're over 59 and a half, you pull the money out, tax. When you hit 70 and a half, you have to take what's called requirement and distributions. It's about 3 to 4% of the value of your IRA each year as taxable income. So if the IRS just lets you do whatever you want for your IRA, just give it all to your kids, your parents, no one's going to ever pay tax on this money because they'll just shift it along to their family. So the IRS needs to protect the distribution rules. It's an important part of generating revenue for Treasury, helps build roads and schools and all that great stuff. So something they care about and they protect it. So they are concerned when people are buying real estate with their IRA. They want to make sure that you as the IRA holder are not doing anything to directly or indirectly personally benefit you or a lineal descendant. So what can you do? Well, the tax code clearly says you can't provide services. You can't enter into transactions with your IRA. You can't personally guarantee an obligation of your IRA. So we know right away you can't paint the house. You can't fix the roof. Those are clearly services. You can't get paid for them. You can't be the realtor, for example. Clearly you're getting paid. You shouldn't be the lawyer. You shouldn't be the manager of the LLC for a fee. But there's a lot of gray areas, right? So what does it mean? Can I decide who the contractor is? Can I decide what color the walls are? Can I decide what color the couch is? Can I decide how much rent I'm going to charge? Can I decide who the renter is? Yes to a lot of those questions. There's a case in Cherwenka. It's actually a Georgia bankruptcy case. It's one of the few cases that talked about what you can and cannot do when it comes to using a self-directed IRA. And basically what the court said, it's actually a bankruptcy court, what it says basically, as long as you're not entering into a transaction with your IRA, you can do it. So the court basically said a transaction is like an active engagement of a service. So clearly you can't do anything for money where there's actual service arrangement or transaction. But clearly you can pick the contractor. That's not a transaction. And then have the contractor make all those transactions. You can decide how much you're going to pay for the house. You can decide what the house will look like. You can decide who you're going to rent it to, how much you're going to rent. Those are not transactions. Those are decisions, but those aren't transactions. Transactions is engaging in an activity like putting the roof together or painting the walls or doing something active that constitutes a transaction. And that's really what the case stands for, and I think it's pretty helpful. So all in all, for real estate, as long as you're doing passive activities, stuff as a manager of the LLC, was it filing tax returns, hiring contractors, hiring lawyers, paying property taxes, deciding what you're going to pay for the property, how much you're going to sell it for, who's going to rent it out, who's going to be the renter, what color the sofa will be. I think all that's fine. You have that right. Just like you can decide what stocks to buy, you can make certain decisions. Who's going to be your financial advisor? Anything other than that, you should stop yourself. You don't want to market it. Have someone market it. You don't want to be the realtor. You don't want to be the manager if it's involved property management. Obviously, if they just direct deposit the rent, that's not an issue. There's nothing you're doing. But if you're more involved, if you're at the property on a day-to-day basis, hire a third party. I know it will cut into some of your IRA profits, but it's probably best for the safety of the transaction. You don't want to violate the prohibited transaction rules. Blow up your IRA, penalties can go as high as 100%. You don't want to be there. So just hire the contractor, have the contractor outsource. If you got to buy stuff at Home Depot, pay a third party to go for you. Give them a list. Take pictures of what you want to buy. They buy it. I'll write a check from my IRA and pay you. So much easier. Keep cleaner, and we'll keep you out of trouble. But anything passive you can do. If it's active, stay away from it. I know there's some gray areas. So there's other videos in the IRA Center you want to check out, because there's some other videos that will go into specific detail on specific transactions. But all in all, stay passive, don't be active, and you'll be okay.